In a recent article by Sam Amick of The Athletic, he lists that the Los Angeles Clippers are interested in Sacramento Kings wing forward veteran player DeMar DeRozan, which for already the oldest roster in the NBA, it's kind of funny that that's the player that they go or that they'd be interested in. Either way, any deal that would happen would probably happen in December, after December 15th, more than likely in January. And we're going to discuss just why. I get obviously the reason the Kings would be doing it is the reason the article originally was written. Sam Amick was basically discussing that they're probably going to be blowing it up in Sacramento, and someone who actually has trade value is DeMar DeRozan. And if you're wondering why DeMar DeRozan at this point in his career has still, I guess you would say, trade value, yes, he is 36 years old, and it's not like he's an elite defender or going to be someone that's going to be breaking people down like he used to. But the LA native is someone who, if you guys didn't know, he was someone who has always repped LA coming out of Compton, I believe Compton High School, 9th overall out of USC. He's this year played 18 games. He's shooting 36% from three on 2 attempts a game last year, 32.8% on 3.5 attempts. And really just over the last few years, right under league average from 3-point range, while still being a near 50% field goal shooter. This year averaging 19 points, last year averaging 22. And with Chicago was 24 point per game score. But he is still a really good facilitator, even though now more being a secondary, about 3.5 assists a game, last year 4.5, the year before 5.5, and previously being up to 7 assists a night. And with DeMar DeRozan, what you're getting with him is still a guy who could be like your third best scorer as he's up there in age. He's still a consistent scorer. The mid-range specialty that he's known for is still there, and he's gotten better at being a three-point shooter, even though it's not at a league average. But the explosion isn't there. He's not as explosive anymore. And yes, he can drive to the rim and score, but he's more of a solid passer in the second half of his career. And I don't want to say he's a cone on defense. He's just not reliable on defense, but somewhat of a clutch player. Now with DeMar DeRozan, he's someone that is making $24.5 million this year. Next year, we'll be making $25.7. And if you're the Los Angeles Clippers, you have the salaries to get that deal done. It's really not that difficult for them to do it. And the reasons, before we get into making that deal done, let's just talk about what's going on with Los Angeles. And they are 5-12 this season. They're 12th in the Western Conference. They just look old. I think the biggest thing is that they look old. They're the fourth worst team or fifth worst. I think, fourth worst, 30, 29, 28, 27, fifth worst team in scoring offense, fifth worst in rebounds, fourth worst in assists per game. They are attempting the second least amount of field goal attempts. They're making the fifth least amount in the league. So they just suck at offense. They really, truly suck at offense. And their true shooting's at 12th, 59%. So, and they also are like the 10th worst turnover team in the league. So everything on their offensive side sucks. They're just truly a bad offense. And the ball sticks. They look old. Everyone jokes around. They look like a YMCA team because the ball just sticks. And I'm not saying that bringing in a 36-year-old is going to be like a remedy to that situation. I mean, the hope is that it's going to alleviate. The biggest problem for me is the defense is also terrible. Well, they're 6th worst defense. They have the 7th worst net rating. Their offensive rating is 8th worst. They're actually just below their expected win-loss record from Fastball Reference of 6-11. They're at 5-12. When we look at this roster and we look at the salaries, if you're really just trying to find that $26 million, John Collins is the first guy that you could say, oh, that's an easy swap. But John is playing 26 minutes a night for them. And I mean, I'm not saying he's like incredible, but he's kind of one of your younger guys and someone that I think if you're going to have any success, let's keep him here. So with that being said, I don't think John Collins at all would be in there. I think Bogdanovich was someone that they were trying to move for the longest time. And I think when you look at the roster of the easiest would be Bogdan and Derek Jones. I think if you were able to use, because I know technically you can trade a player's salary that's hurt. In theory, couldn't you trade Bradley Beal and like either Chris Dunn or Nick Batum with Bogdan and get the deal? But some sort of combination of Bogdan and Derek Jones, or Bogdan and Nick Batum and Chris Dunn, or Chris Dunn and Bogdan, and that using Bradley Beal who's injured, or because the disabled player exception is there, but it's only used to fill for salary. So I just think when you look at the Clippers getting DeMar DeRozan, he solves what we said. They're a terrible offense, and he helps facilitate the ball. They're going to have another true, I wouldn't say true because they don't even have a true point guard. Even though James Harden's kind of point guard, but the moral of it is that they don't have a backup ball handler. And as much as I like Kobe Sanders and Chris Dunn, Chris Paul's old as hell. They just don't have anyone to get that job done. And DeMar DeRozan, as old as he is, in theory, if you were giving up Bogdanovich, who's not really been effective for them this year, and I would like them to keep Derek Jones Jr. because he's just been healthy and he's just been more athletic than the rest of the team, and use the other players. And Bogdan's a guy who's also averaging 9 points a game for them, even though his shooting splits haven't been the best. So if they're able to move off the old players, some of the old players for another old player, sure, that's fine. I just wouldn't give up anyone young or athletic for a 36-year-old. Do I think it's not the right move? Yeah. Like, if I was the Clippers, I think that's dumb. I think I wouldn't trade for another old person. Like, if I had a roster like the Clippers where it was already built with a bunch of older players, we would be looking for some athleticism, some youth. I'd be calling up a rebuilding team, or a team like the Nets, where I could get somebody who could maybe help, like a Haywood Highsmith, or call up the Trailblazers and see if there's anybody like a Matisse Thybulle. And I know he's not going to be like giving us a bunch of scoring, but even like Cam Thomas would be huge if they were calling up the Brooklyn Nets. I think there's other avenues for them to go if they're really trying to maximize the team's ability to turn the season around and basically understand that, yes, they are old and their defense sucks and their offense sucks and they need to put more shots up, so they need a shot creator. And that's going to be given to you with DeMar DeRozan, but I think it's the rule of insanity, just trying to do the same things over and over again and expecting different results. And with that, bring in another old player that in theory would fix the scoring and ball handling and the ball sticking issues. But I think it would create a lack of spacing. It would make the defense worse. And I don't think your shot attempts would go up. I just think you need a 3-point bomber instead of just the guy who's going to take the ball out of the hands of your best players. So that's my biggest concern. Either way, if you made it to the end, hit that like and subscribe button. That's basically it. Hope you did enjoy. And if you were the Clippers were king, I mean, if you're the Kings, trade DeMar DeRozan, there's no point in keeping him. But if you're the Clippers, would you even entertain the possibility of trading a guy like Bogdanovich and Derek Jones, or Bogdan, and the combination of players, salaries, for DeMar DeRozan? Let me know. Bye.